Yo, welcome back. Today we're on the big pool project, which we wired up that shed behind me over there. I'm here with the builder. The builder's doing some rendering. There's Aid in the background if you see him. We are doing a fancy water feature over there. There's already a 4mm armoured cable which supplies an old fuse board up the top, which is now becoming the water feature circuit, which is going to have an Energy smart switch on it, so you can wirelessly turn it on and off from the bedrooms or say from your phones if you're out here via the wireless switch. So it's very handy. It's going to be a cool project. We just need to splice into an armoured cable and actually run a new feed to this double socket. So I've marked out roughly where the central of this wall is. Aid's put in a concrete pad ready for, it's going to be like a brick up stand, a bit like a fireplace with like a fancy water trough. Obviously matching in with the age of this property. This bush is getting cut back, so the sockets will still be accessible around the back. But what I am going to do is, I've got plenty of cable here. We're going to tee into that 4mm armoured cable there, which is fed on a 32 amp breaker. I've bought a 32 amp Wilex RCBO, so it will have the correct protection. And then there's nothing wired in that end. I've just cut that all off. And then we're going to be sticking a Knightsbridge double socket, which is going to be mounted to the back of the wall, so that's fine, obviously waterproof. And then to do that joint there, we've got a whisker box with some of the whisker gel. I don't think it's the actual brand of whisker gel stuff, but the 2-part kit where you mix it and it's like a resin, so that'll be interesting, and I'll probably end up covered in resin. Job number one, find where that's supplied from. I know exactly where it is, so I'll take you there now. In the workshop now, and it's currently supplied from this little DB here. Sorry about the flickering lights. So that's a 4mm cable. There's no earth in it, it's 2-core, but it's using the outer armour ends as the earth, as people traditionally used to do. Nothing wrong with that, as we were using the existing cable. Doesn't have any RCBO or RCD protection, sorry, there. It doesn't have any here, because it's on an MCB, because it used to be a supply cable, which is fine. But now, especially as it's being directly used into a socket, I want RCD protection. I could put it on this slide here, but that's a type A, C RCD, which is, I don't really want for outdoor equipment, and I don't really like using them. If I was to do it, I'd swap it, but then you haven't got selectivity, you're not breaking down the circuits as such. So if there was ever a fault on the outside pump, it would trip that RCD, and then you'd sacrifice all those circuits. So we're literally going to swap that to an RCBO, so it's on its own dedicated RCD. And as you can see, that is turned off. And then here, the fuse is out, and I've took it off and I've tested, so that's all dead. So now we can angle grind it outside. There's plenty of slack there, so what I like to do is bend it like that, and then obviously you can see where you need to cut it in the middle there. Get your angle grinder, because it doesn't need to be the neatest of cuts, because I'm going to redo it with the armoured slice to each side, and then with the new cable. So don't know how well you can see this. Safety specs are on, invisible hearing protection's on, gloves are on obviously, as you can see. So let's cut this. Easy as that. So now let's get the armoured slice and eye it up where we need to strip back. In fact, before we do that, let's cut and slide on the shroud, because I was definitely going to forget that. Got both the shrouds. I'm going to eye that up. What I do is squash them a bit. It's a nice warm day today, so they're pretty flexible. Bend that so it's straight, and then push that in all the way to the end, so you can see where it's making an imprint. Grab your nice sharp standing blade, and then just do a score round like so, and then just literally cut that off in a nice straight line as best as possible. And then I take that off then and just tidy up the edges ever so slightly to make it even more straight, like so. And then turn it around and squeeze it on, which is never the fun bit. So that's on. Get rid of that, and then straight in with the back bit of the gland. So they come manufactured, screwed together. You just want to do it so you take the bottom bit off and the washer doesn't fall out, because that only goes in a certain way. So to save that, I just keep it vertical and just drop it in, and then lose that in the shroud as well. If you pinch the shroud over it, it stops it from going flying. So that's all solid. I can push that back and not worry about it now. So I'll repeat that process on all 3 cables. So I've repeated that process on both of the cables I've cut. Now I need to get this new bit of armoured cable cut up and unravelled out. So you'll see me dancing around the garden. I've left a bit extra as a trim in the bush back, and I want to leave enough slack so they can put a bit of a loop around in case the water feature does ever so slightly move here or there. That's all 3 cables ready, shrouds on, glands slid over, so I can't forget that step. Next, we're going to be using a Whisker 407. I didn't even realise these existed. I knew you could get 308s, which are roughly the same size, maybe a touch smaller, and they have 20mm knockouts, which are perfect for 20 S's, whereas obviously 20 size glands are 25mm knockouts, so then you have to use a 607. But the problem is when you need to have enough room to get 3 4mm cables in, you don't really have enough in a smaller box. But then when you want to try and put a bigger box in, you have to go to a 6 or 7, but then you're screwed because then you have 25mm knockouts. But luckily, well, Whisker do one of these, so this is going to save the day. So I'm going to take the lid off, eye up how much cable I need, and then do use the Armoured slice and make sure that I get a nice clean cut around the edges. So I've marked every single one with a Sharpie mark where I need to cut them. Next, I'm going to introduce the CK Armoured slice. I have seen they've released a new version of this. All these tools I'm using, I'm not endorsed by the brand at all. This is my personal opinion. Hacksaws, I absolutely hate. There'll be someone commenting right now, I could do it with a faster hacksaw. Yeah, you probably can because you do Armoureds day in, day out, but I don't do Armoureds, and I like a nice easy way of just tighten this up, spin it around a few times, take it off, get your Armoured, bend them back, twist them, whatever you want to do, snap them off, go in with your Stanley knife. All I do is just tighten it up on said pencil mark, make sure it's in the middle, like that, and then it says which way to rotate it, which I always forget, so it's that way. So you don't do it mega tight to start with, you just want to score the outer sheathing, and then it does self-tighten, but you are better off just giving it a good few turns. And then you can hear that now starting to bite, so I go about 4 or 5 spins and then give it a good tighten. Another 4 or 5 spins, good tighten. So then you unscrew it, go so far, and you can actually pull these as well down a bit to release it, but get that out of the way. You can see the metal swarf from where we've been cutting it. So back in with the Stanley knife now, you want to remove that outer sheathing. So nice sharp Stanley blade, just run your thumb and push it up, like so. Get rid of that outer sheathing, just bend that back, get that out of the way. And then you want to grab these inner cores, 3 or 4 at a time, push them back, give them a wiggle, and they should come off as easy as that. So I'll repeat that process on the whole lot. So now what I do is I get my CKs on smaller cables like this and get a nice cut there for the gland to go on. CKs, croppers, like I say, I'm not endorsed by that brand, it's just what everyone uses. I don't know why, but someone might have been smashing in raw plugs, and obviously these technically aren't VDE rated, so someone's put some insulation tape around the side, but I don't know who that was. So then I normally do a big thumbnail width off, just to make sure it's still enclosed within the waterproof gland. Get rid of that, and then that will just wiggle off, like so. Pull that out, grab this inner core, and give that a twist the correct way to open it up, and then we can introduce the gland. But before I do that, I'm going to strip this inner sheathing to make my life easier. So now we're ready to introduce the male end of the gland, or female, whichever way you want to say it. So push that through all the way, and then slide up the other side out of the shroud. I tend to get rid of the waterproof seal bit and then connect that bit up afterwards, and then just slowly push them together. Make sure your armourings are going to grab on the right bit, and then tighten that up. Just tighten it up by hand first, and then go in with the grips. I need to invest in a pair of Nipex flat grips, not the ones with teeth, as it doesn't, so then it gets a good connection and doesn't score the brass fittings, but they're fine here, they're getting buried. They're getting covered by a shroud as well. It's just more of an aesthetic look if you've got something in a commercial property and it's on show. I need to invest as well in a spanner as such, an adjustable spanner, as I think that's quite a good investment, which I've seen people using. Another thing I forgot to note is I should have put the male end with the banjo and the lock nut on the inside of this first, and then threaded that into it and then put this on, but because I've not put the other cables in yet and this is not being fixed to a wall, I can just twist this box on because they come with a threaded insert. So I'm going to smash a 20mm knockout out with my screwdriver. I put that on the edge and just tap it off. You can just keep threading and it pops off, but it never pops off clean. So I'm just going to smash it out, get that, thread it on, and then we'll move on to connecting up the other big flathead screwdriver in the groove. Give it a little tap the one side, give it a tap the other side, this corner here, and then that final corner, and it comes flying out. And then you just grab it with your finger, pull it, and then that's good to go. So I'll just thread that onto this box here. So we've come into a bit of an issue. Luckily, I had one of these in the van, but I am going to have to take another trip to the old sailors. So a lock ring on that one, because there's nothing next to it. Oh great, the builder's mixing something. So that one will work as there's nothing next to it, whereas these ones on the edges is hitting the corner of the boxes. So bit of a bad design from Whisker, because, well, it is and it isn't. It then traps you into buying their Whisker kits. So it's one of them. But I'm going to have to buy some of these horrible springy things, which they do work, but they're just not the best in my eyes. If I give that a good tug, it will come flying off, whereas that, you physically got to put a spanner on it to get it off, which in my eyes is better. All done on that one, just tightened it back up, so there's no sheathing showing, so the waterproof gland's going to do its job. We've got a little bit of black entering the enclosure, and obviously that will all be filled up with the gel. So that one's done. We can slide that one all the way up and over the shroud, and it should be a nice secure fitting. We're pretty much nearly there. All them are all glanded in. The shrouds are nice and tight. I've looped that one round, so leave a bit of slack, and it's just going to go around the back of this here, so we're going to be buried in with some tape over it. I've just been to the van. I just need to obviously get one more of those lug things, but I've just been to the van. I've got some eye crimps, some bolts. Everyone's going to shout because they're not brass, but it doesn't really matter. And some nuts. I need to drop that then. The Whisker kit does come with these ones, but I just need to make 2 more links out of this here, just to earth the Armourings, and then obviously connecting the Armoured 3-core cable, which I've ran in rather than using 2-core cable, just updating it a bit. But I need to put the Armoured gland on the end of that cable there, on the end of that double socket, and you can see the amount of tools this takes just to do one little simple task. So the front just comes off like that, put that aside so it doesn't get scratched, and then take rid of all that rubber bungs. I'm not going to do the back knockouts yet. I'll do that when I actually want to secure it to the wall once it's been built. All I am going to do is do the bottom middle knockout, so you can just push these out like so. That's ready to go. Make sure all the others from the factory are nice and tight, and then I'm going to introduce our Armoured gland. So unscrew that end and leave that at the top, grab our banjo and our nut, and then I'm going to push that through, and then also get the banjo on, and then get the lock ring. I'm probably not showing you guys a thing, I'll show you now. So that's all on, and then just pinch that with your finger and just tighten it up, but just leave the banjo like that, so you can bend it now a little bit. So this is what I'm on about. You want to grab your banjo there, bend it up a bit so you can get a bolt or something on it, and then you want to put it at the back so it's out the way, a bit like, it just needs bending a touch more. So you want to bend that out the back like that, out the way, and then I'm going to tighten this up with my grips. Just tighten that up with my grips. You do have to remember these are plastic, so you can go fairly tight, but not mega tight like a metal clad socket, because ultimately it's just going to snap. But now that's nice and tight. Same process of glanding off the Armoured. So you need a bit more on this to make the double socket off, so I'll go from there. Obviously we've got loads of excess slack, so let's repeat that same process. That socket's all glanded off and sleeved up ready. Got the socket face over there, going to connect that up, get that screwed back. Socket's all done, left loads of slack. That's ready for the builder to dig it behind here and cut all this bush back ready, and then it'll be mounted to the brick wall behind. So now literally all that's left, that's all ready to go. I just need to nip to the shop, grab some more earth nuts, and then pick up some of my rubbish and then get mixing some of this, which is this Whisker gel stuff. It's not actually the Whisker stuff, but it's some other stuff they had in the shop. But let's go back to power, see the lads, pick up some bits. We're back from the shop, got a pack of these. Don't really like them, but there ain't a lot I can do here. I'm going to have to use them. Got a little ciabatta roll. I'm going to scoff that, and then let's finish this one up. Got some Wagos here, and then we'll get to the exciting bit, which is going to be me mixing this up, because I've never actually used this personally. I think we used it once with Nick, but I never really got involved in that. Nick did that. Right, so I've got the Wagos all in and done, like that. Jobs are good. Now we're on to this stuff. 2-component silicone gel. This one looks like it's already leaked. So we've got A and B. Oh yeah, it's definitely leaked. It's all over my hands. Lovely. And it comes with a little measuring jug and a little stirrer. So we shall start mixing this, have a little read of the instructions, see how much we're going to use, and then let's have a look, see what happens. 1 to 1. I'm not too sure how much of this I actually need, but there's only one way to find out, I suppose. Let's screw that back on, because that's probably why it's leaked everywhere. And then let's cut this lid off. And then let's go. God, I'm going to need quite a bit, anyway. $200 ml, do you reckon that'll do it? And another 200 ml of that. So now it needs to be on 400 total. Probably would be easier to take the bottle cap off rather than squeezing it to death, but hey ho, I'm committed now. Right, 200 ml of each, and then I presume I'll just give this little concoction a stir. Oh God, I've just got it all on my knee. This looks like a lot. Mix well for about 30 seconds, pour fluid into the box, wait 10-15 minutes, reapply. Can't be that hard, can it? We'll just tip it in and see what happens, eh? Give it a good mix for a minute or so. Let's tip this in and see what happens. Let's hope I've done enough. Oh, my box is on a bit of a slant. Right there, I need to put my box straight. It's about to tip out. Let's put my box there. That's fairly straight, that's better. Right, let's keep filling it up. Right, we're a bit full there. Let's leave that to set. And I don't think that was bad for a rough estimate. What have we got left? 150? It's been 5 or so minutes. Probably not even that. And it's setting pretty well, but it does say leave it for 15, but it's already pretty tacky. So I'm going to leave it for another 10 minutes or so with the lid off. It's fully submerged, everything is. I'm just going to go and swap and install that RCBO, and then we shall turn it on and see what happens. But I presume you've got to wait for the gel to solidify before you can turn it on. So it's really set off now, and as you can see, if I hold the camera dead close and poke this Armoured strand in, it's like sticking like jelly all the way around. So I'll go and turn this on now and see what happens, but hopefully it doesn't short out. I presume this liquid is non-conductive, obviously once it sets like that. So I'll turn it on and we'll double check it's all working. Whisker box lid on. Just going to leave that there now, but the power is onto this. I've taped that up, got my rubbish bag ready, got my Wagos ready to put back in the van. I'm just going to open this socket up and do a quick test. That's the power back on, as you can hear. Going to get my multi-function tester now and give it a ZS and a full test. But yeah, happy with that. With these Knightsbridge double sockets as well, they've got the jelly strips at the bottom and then the nice big paddle levers, so you can not snap them in the winter. But this one's just going to be hidden behind this brick wall, to be fair.